The funny part about the story is that here I was sitting back and saying, I don't want to necessarily like jump the gun too early. I don't want to give up all these benefits. And then I have a baby. My wife and I have our first son. And a month later, I quit my job with all these benefits and I decided to go all in on. There's always going to be levels of fear when you're going from a job that pays you consistently to a job that's 100% commission based. You've got to have that committed level of mindset, right? Like you mentioned, not leading with fear.
Welcome, everyone, to Refined Mindset. I'm Steve Vargas. What am I? Director of Agent Growth and Agent Success, River City Elite Properties, Real Brokerage. Also the Vargas team leader and associate broker.
Hey, my name is Kevin. I'm with the Vargas team as well and with River City Elite Properties.
And today we have a very, very special episode today. We have the one and only Thomas Cauley with River City Elite Properties, Real Broker. And Thomas has a lot of great stories. So thank you for being on with us today, Thomas.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk, ready to learn. It's going to be great.
I love it. I love it. So just a little bit of backstory, kind of tell us, a little bit about yourself, Thomas, how real estate became a part of your world, growing up, all that fancy stuff we all like to dig deep in.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a home full of entrepreneurs. So my dad is an entrepreneur, mom is an entrepreneur, and I didn't initially go to that route, although I felt like that type of work is inside of me. I went into philanthropy, the nonprofit world initially, and spent over a decade managing portfolios in various different nonprofits. I stayed mostly in the medical, education, and children's sectors, but managed portfolios for some small grassroots nonprofits, and then also raised some significant money for very large nonprofits that were doing, 150 million more in gift revenue. Wow. And eventually one of those nonprofits had me relocate back to Richmond. I was in Pennsylvania at the time. And so I was like, at that point, my mom had started River City Elite Properties, and it was gaining a lot of traction, winning awards and just gaining a lot of notoriety, really growing and expanding. And I was like, it just didn't make sense for me to not get my license and be a part of that. But honestly, I remember being a part of real estate with my mom back when I was 17. I'm 38 right now, so we would flip houses together. She got started in the investment sector. She moved on to eventually getting her license and working for a couple different brokerages, builders, before she ended up starting River City Elite Property. So I feel like I've been around it, and I've gained two gifts. Just from growing up with two entrepreneurs and then somebody who's been in the real estate industry. It was access to the industry and then awareness of what it takes to actually have success, learning that it's not about just chasing commissions, but it's really about serving people. And that's eventually what landed me here myself. So,
well, it's interesting, and I love that, especially if you are a nonprofit. It is about serving people.
100%.
The word nonprofit.
Yeah,
exactly. I love that. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
No, I think that's awesome. That's exciting. So what kind of led you to, first start preparing for the test and then actually taking it? And, how did you go about picking which real estate brokerage you wanted to go with?
Well, I probably didn't have much of an option. If I came back and I said to my mom that I was going with another brokerage, I might be kicked out of the family. But I say that jokingly, but honestly, there's not another brokerage at the time that I would have wanted to join. So I was actually a part of River City when it was a boutique luxury brokerage down in Richmond. It's still headquartered in Richmond, but we obviously have a Northern Virginia division now that I lead, and so for me, it was a matter of, one, I was a little bit not completely satisfied anymore with the role that I was in. And I think that was the natural entrepreneur side of me coming out. I wanted to build something. I wanted to own something. I wanted to take something from nothing and turn it into something else. And I knew that River City Elite Properties was a brokerage that really prided itself on empowering agents to build their own brand. So it wasn't necessarily about the brokerage and how, the agent can help us to build our brand. It was, how can we leverage all of our resources and our collective experience to help you build a brand that might go on to be bigger than ourselves. So, that was kind of, a great fit for me because that's what I was wanting to do anyway. And then obviously, since it was a family brokerage, it kind of made sense.
I love that. And so, and to kind of follow up with that, so you were a dual career for a little bit, am I right in saying? And, at that job, how did that, to do dual career, what we know, that's a challenge no matter what. But now you're a full-time managing director, right? What first was kind of that trigger, that transition? And I'm sure you had fears, right? Like secure to, assuming you got paid biweekly, job, secure, healthcare and all that stuff. What kind of triggered the transition, and what was kind of like some fear, some wins, some things that you were like, you know what, I'm ready?
Yeah. So this is actually a little bit of a funny story, kind of how it played out. But yeah, I was, even after I got my license and I hung my license at River City, I was still dual career. So like many people, like I loved real estate. I wasn't necessarily sold at the time on going all in on real estate because my other job was pretty lucrative. I was making a really good salary. I had a lot of flexibility. I had a lot of good benefits. And since it was a job where the bottom line was really like, how much revenue are you bringing in? As long as my monthly targets were hit and my numbers were hit, I had a lot of freedom and flexibility to kind of, come and go. And it was a hybrid role. So it was great. It was a really nice setup. So there was a part of me that was like, oh man, should I really leave this to go all in on real estate?
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I don't blame you for thinking that too. But
yeah, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people that experience that. You also have the fear of like, the bills are still coming in and I'm going from something that is, hey, set and I'm getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or twice a month, to now all of a sudden I'm going to get paid when I sell a house. It's 100% commission. And that can be scary for a lot of individuals. And so I think it was a combination of the two for me, really looking and saying, do I want to jump out on 100% commission? And do I really want to give up, on the other hand, all of these benefits that I have? But again, there was two factors for me that ended up making the jump. One was, it was just something inside of me that I knew that I was not going to be satisfied until I went out there and gave it a shot to see what type of business could I build in the real estate world. And if I fail, look, I fail. I've got a great resume. I can go back to fundraising and philanthropy. But I knew that I had to take that shot at building something or I wasn't going to be satisfied. The other trigger for me was when River City Elite Properties was making the decision to join with Real Broker.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I looked at being able to combine kind of the powerhouse of Real with the brand strength and the positioning of River City Elite Properties, I knew that I had to get in on that early. So the funny part about the story is that here I was sitting back and saying, I don't want to necessarily like jump the gun too early. I don't want to give up all these benefits. And then I have a baby. My wife and I have our first son. And a month later, I quit my job with all these benefits and I decided to go all in on real estate.
Great timing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like it didn't end up making sense, but it did make sense because it worked out. And, I'm performing better, building better, earning more than what I had before. So it worked out.
I love that.
A really important question that I feel like a lot of dual career agents have is, how did you balance like your life when trying to create a business and also working your regular job?
Yeah. So we say this at River City Elite all the time. There is no such thing as a part-time agent. There is no part-time agent. You are a full-time realtor and you're also a full-time whatever your other job is, right? Like for me, I was in full-time corporate sales and philanthropy. You're a full-time real estate agent as well. So it's a lot of obsession and it's a lot of hustle and it's a lot of grind, because in the real estate world, the times when your clients are free is evening and weekends. And so if you've been working all day at one job, now you've got to come home and you've got to kick it on to work at another job. And when you get under contract, and there's lenders and there's contractors and there's settlement attorneys and there's processors and there's your clients, and they're sending you questions during the day, and you're trying to work another job, you still have to manage that with excellence. You still have to be elite in everything that you're doing. So it was difficult. I would not say that it was easy. And for those people that are dual career that, you know, are going to be listening to this, they know that it is definitely a grind. But if you want it badly enough, you can make it happen. And the good part about being dual career is that it gives you the flexibility to take the money that you're earning in real estate and reinvest it into your real estate business to try to scale that to the level where you're getting consistent. And then it does make sense for you to be able to leave and go full time. And that's really what you want. That's the goal.
I love that. You know, and it's interesting. What you said is, you know, as agents, there are dual career, and some of them making more money in real estate than dual career. It may seem like they can't, and yet you're a perfect example why that limiting belief should be removed, right? And there's other agents out there that have went from a high-paying corporate type of job to building their business. So I love that. I love that. So Thomas, tell me more. And you mentioned earlier about River City Elite and Real Brokerage and how it combined. Like, what was the reason? And can you kind of elaborate? Because I know this is a newer model, which is a beautiful model. Honestly, I wish I came up with the idea. It is a newer model that Real has created. Tell us more about, you know, River City Elite. Why Real Brokerage? What does that mean for agents in River City Elite? And what kind of support does Real like combine in a nutshell, or I guess in any way that kind of makes sense for the average agent? Because it could be a little confusing by the name.
Yeah. So the model matched our mission. That was the most important thing. So River City Elite Properties has a very unique culture, and we want to make sure that we are maintaining that culture and that mission. So Real matched our mission, and then it gave us a lot of the freedom to be able to operate like a boutique brand while leveraging the horsepower of a national tech-forward company, right? So it's the best of both worlds, right? Total autonomy with a lot of powerful back-end support. And that was the win for us. How can we look at taking all of the resources that Real has to offer that help you to scale and build a business? How can we take all of the opportunities to diversify your income for an agent? All of the sort of forward-facing tech that they bring, and then also a cloud-based model. It just made sense for us. We knew that it was going to help our agents to build their businesses and grow and scale their businesses. And then because of the way that we joined, so River City Elite Properties was actually the very first brokerage in Virginia to join as what's called private label. So we signed a DBA with Real Broker, doing business as they do business as River City Elite Properties, but that allowed us to maintain all of our unique branding, all of our marketing, and the strength and the name that people have come to recognize. So it was a nice win, and it just made sense. It fit.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so you know, it sounds like, you know, if a client's like, hey, you know, I want to buy, I want to sell, you have the value of River City Elite culture, standard, you know, that luxury mindset, basically, you know, of course, working with everyone, but you also have the benefit of Real's resources, Real's tools, Real's, you know, everything that Real can provide. And it also sounds like there's teams within River City Elite that's with Real Brokerage, right? Like I believe, you know, there are the Gahunia groups and other types of teams. So, I mean, that's pretty, honestly, I wish I would have came up with that idea a long time ago.
Right.
It's awesome. You can keep your branding, still have your culture, and get those benefits. So, I mean, that's
100%. Yeah, it was a good fit for us. So all of the great resources and everything that Real has to offer on the back end, our team on the front end. And, you know, another thing that was really great for us is that because of the volume that we're doing every single year as a brokerage. Last year we were over 180, million in volume. This year, who knows? Maybe we'll be over 200 million in volume as a brokerage, coming up on, $250 million, maybe in the next 2-3 years. But because of that, there are certain benefits. Real categorizes River City Elite Properties as a pro team. So we're private label in that we get to maintain our brand and our marketing, which, has come to be, gain a really great name here in Virginia, Richmond and in Northern Virginia. But we're also considered a pro team. So there are benefits like a decreased cap that come with that, and some other benefits related to resources that, again, we can offer to our agents. So it made sense. And for me, that was understanding that and getting in on that early was important to me. And that's what eventually caused me to say, I'm going to leave this dual career position that I'm in. Even though I just had a baby, there's a lot going on in my life. I'm going to go full time on this because I want to take advantage of it earlier, because the earlier that you get in, the better it's going to be. It's just like buying a stock early. It's great to buy Amazon stock right now. It would have been better if you bought it in 2001 though, right?
Oh my, yes.
Agreed.
We would be on the beach having this interview.
Yeah, that's true. You wouldn't even be a real estate agent anymore. You'd be having a podcast giving out stock trading advice.
Yes, exactly. I love that.
So what are some wins that you remember like early off in your career, and some breakthroughs that like really solidified that shift?
I don't know that there were necessarily any wins for me that that like made me say I wanna make the move. I wanna jump. I remember there are some wins that I've had that I remember that stand out, but nothing necessarily connected to making that jump. For me, it was just a matter of like, I've been doing this for long enough. I've built up enough of a business and an understanding and enough of a model that I know I can do this. Again, I had been saving those commission checks and reinvesting them into my business to be able to create more business. And then when Real Broker came along, knowing that I would be able to take everything that I had already been building at River City Elite and pair it with all the resources that Real Broker was providing. I mean, so just for example, Real Broker, our sort of cloud-based forum where all of the agents have access to each other, all 28,000 of them, is called Work Vivo. And there is a page on Work Vivo called Referral Central, where you can go and post, buyer referrals for, your state or wherever you are. And I remember even within like the first couple of months, and even to this day, picking up probably like 3 buyer referrals within like the first couple months of being at Real, that just kind of solidified, like, this is another way for me to be able to build a business. But a couple of big wins that I remember that stand out, just aside from that, my first transaction, because it was definitely a rough one. The very first transaction that I did, but being able to get that one home and get that first commission check felt really good. The second one that I really remember was the first time I sold $1 million home or more, because that was a huge, kind of barrier to entry for me. And then the third one was the first time that I net over 50K in a single month. So that was a huge one.
That's awesome, man.
So just those are some that stand out to me.
It would stand out to a lot of agents, to be honest. That would stand out to a lot of agents. That's an awesome job.
How many deals would you say that you've, like, after completing so many deals, when were you thinking like, I'm ready to do this full time? Like, I feel like I know how to do this right, and I have enough experience at this point. Yeah.
So, I don't know that I would say that I was ready. I mean, there's a sense in which, we're ready for what we have right now, but we're always learning. We're always growing. And so I don't know that if somebody is looking for like that magical moment where they just arrive and they're ready to go, I don't think they're ever going to find it. There's always going to be levels of fear when you're going from a job that pays you consistently to a job that's 100% commission based. And in real estate, there's always going to be ups and downs, right? We want to mitigate those by building enough systems and strategies and processes into our business to be able to maintain consistency. And that's absolutely possible. And myself and you all and many other agents are examples of that. But we never arrive. There's still things right now that I'm learning that I've got in my tool belt that I didn't have when I first came over, right? And there's going to be things that I don't have right now that I'll have in 2 years. So I think that the foundation is knowing that you're committed, that you're going to make it happen no matter what, right? So real estate is, and really sales in general, is an industry where it's not good enough just to be driven and motivated. Everybody is driven and motivated, right? When I was hiring people, when I worked in sales in the philanthropic sector, every single resume that came over said that they were driven and motivated. But not every single one of those people ended up putting up the numbers that we wanted them to. And so there's a difference between the people who are driven and motivated and the people that are aggressive enough to go out and make it happen. And I don't use aggressive to mean like off-putting or disrespectful or reckless, but there is a sense in which you have to be committed every single day to setting a schedule, setting goals, and going out and making those things happen. And I think that if you've got that in you and you're committed to that type of a mindset, then you're going to be fine. You're going to find a way and you're going to make it happen. And the learning is going to come along the way. I think it's also important to be surrounded by people that support you. So again, River City Elite Properties is a pro team for brokerage that wants to see agents succeed. We want you to build a brand that is bigger than our own. We would rather you build your own network of contractors than us give you a network of contractors and say, here, you have to go out and use these. We would rather you slug through learning how to do lead generation and pipeline management yourself rather than us just handing you over leads that you get dependent on and you never build a business. So I think that's probably the way that I would answer that question.
No, I love that. I love the fact that, you know, the biggest thing, especially for dual career, you know, agents watching this, is that mindset. Like without that mindset, nothing matters, right? And then also having faith. You know, we can have faith or fear. We got to have faith that what we're doing, we're doing the right thing is going to go to that level. So that's a well said point. I love that. I love that. So any final, if you were to, you know, an agent, and I know we've talked a lot about it, especially dual career going to full time, what is kind of the one advice or the one thing that you would suggest for an agent that's kind of stuck in that rut, or they're kind of considering going full time and they're just kind of, you know, what should I do? Am I ready? You know, and Kevin's questions were great. Am I ready? What would you say is that one advice for them, or that one thing that you need to focus on?
That's a really good question. The one thing that they should focus on is, and I don't want to just say lead generation, right? Because everybody's going to be like, oh, of course, like
good answer.
Go out and get some leads, right? But I think that people who have been in dual career, right, and your work, like, they're going to get out of it. I think, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think you've got to have the commitment, right? You've got to be, you've got to be committed. I think that that's there. I think practically it's got to make sense, right? Like if you are like barely making it right now and you don't have enough business, you know, generated, and you just want to switch over to real estate, like you might be putting yourself in a bad position. And I think practically making sure it makes sense for you, right? 2, you've got to have that committed level of mindset, right? Like you mentioned, not leading with fear. And then 3, I think you've got to have a team that's going to invest in you. So you're surrounding yourself with people that are that you know are a part of something that's going to help you to grow. It's not going to stifle you. It's going to help you to grow. And I think if you're finding those things, I think you're putting yourself in the best position.
I love it. Love it. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
You need a Steve Vargas. Just come over and find Steve Vargas.
That was a plug. No, I love that. I love that. No, so where could anyone that has any questions on real estate, whether they want to buy, sell, whether they're looking to join River City Elite, where can they contact you? How can they get reach you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, a couple of different places. thomascauley.com. I've got a great website set up that helps you with buyer guides, seller guides. It also gives you complimentary access to the MLS. So if you want to be able to find a place where you can look for houses that's going to combine stuff that's on market, off market, coming soon from Realtor, Trulia, Homes.com, Zillow, my website's a great tool. On Instagram, I post a lot of helpful content, thomascauley.realtor. You can find me there. And then you can also text me. I'm a really open guy, 804-508-4223.
I love that. We'll put that information there in the comment section. Kev, any other last things?
No, I love what Thomas said earlier. Just stick to it and keep going, because a lot of people will quit before they get to that first part.
Love
1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%. Well, Thomas Cauley of River City Elite Managing Director, River City Elite North and Real Brokerage. Thank you for being on, brother. It was a
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.